Hello, welcome to you all. In this episode of Corporate Communication, we'll be speaking about the trends in corporate communication. As in the previous chapter, we have discussed about the employee relation or the internal relations. We have spoken about the corporate social responsibility. We have also spoken about the media relations and other aspects of corporate communication. In this specific episode, we'll be discussing more on the trends in corporate communication. As we all know, the corporate communication sector is changing every day. There has been a very fast pace, and also you can say that due to the technological advancement or maybe the changing consumer pattern, increased kind of a competition in the business, and also the different various communication channels, there has been an increased demand not only for the knowledge but at the same time how these essential things have to be made a part of the corporate sector. So as we all know that knowledge is one of the very important key. Knowledge is very much important for the kind of research work what you do. Knowledge is very important for the kind of negotiation what you people do. It is a very important part for the persuasion part, or it can be if you want to plan any strategical kind of a thing. Knowledge is very much important. So with these kind of things, you just can't expect a subject like corporate communication to be static. With the evolving time, with the evolving kind of a trends, there has been a lot of changes which you people can see in the corporate world also. At the same time, when we think of the Indian corporate sector, things are very complex. So because the kind of things what works at the Western thing or the Western countries may not be applicable even to the Indian context. So there has been a lot of studies which speaks about how a company has to perform itself, how the company can plan its strategies ahead and see how it can give importance to each and every sector of the organization. Today, as we all know that today communication in the internal organization or the internal members is a very vast thing. So there are a lot of changes which has happened in the way the internal communication takes place. But at the same time, even industry by industry, there has been a lot of changes. You just can't expect the same kind of communication to be applied in the various categories of corporate sectors. Business changes, the kind of strategy will keep changing, the kind of employee relations keep changing, but you need to adopt yourself to these changing trends. So when you look into this, in this particular chapter, we'll try to discuss and we'll also try to share some of the important points as to how there has been a paradigm shift in the trends, especially in the corporate sector. When I say corporate sector, it is the era of digitalization. As you all know, communication is changing very rapidly. The kind of professionalism which is there in the corporate communication is changing very rapidly. Lot of experimentations has been taking place in the internal aspect of a business. Each and every business wants to stand something different from one another. In order to have this successful business, each and every work, each and every activities has to be evaluated. Each and every activities has to be experimented and it has to be adopted. So just to give you a small example as to how these traditional or how these changes have happened in the present day world. Earlier it used to be the activities of the corporate communication, or what it used to be called as the press relations, was limited only to the press license, where the people used to have only good rapport with the media persons, media personalities. Getting the news of the organization in the newspapers, business page was the main activity what majority of them used to do. So secondly, we used to have some kind of a publication work. It can be in the business magazines, it can be in the newspapers. So these kind of activities also used to take place. Then there are also something called as the visual and audio aids. Okay, so corporate communication people used to do a lot of activities related to the radio talks, or it can be in form of a corporate films. So these kind of activities also used to take place. Then media relation was always been the plus point, or always been the center point for any kind of a corporate sector. So what used to happen was there used to be a very limited kind of an activity which was happening in the corporate world. Apart from the crisis management, whenever the company is into a crisis management, so things used to take place and the media used to manage all these crises so that the brand of the particular organization doesn't get hampered. So this was the kind of activities. But with the changing of time, with the changing of the technology, with the business undergoing a lot of transformation in the various factors, the responsibilities and the activities of these corporate sectors have undergone a sea change. Okay, the industry requires a better things. Industry require a lot of people to do much more better activities. So it is not necessary that you need to follow the same kind of rules and regulations which was there around 15 to 20 years back. There has been a lot of competitiveness among the people. The lot of foreign investments are going on. So people have become much more aware. The consumers have become much more, I should say, people have become more aware of the things. People are questioning the authorities. People are questioning the products. So each and everything has undergone a sea change. So when these kind of things are happening at the business level, even the activities of the corporate communication has to be changed. So we need to adopt ourselves to the changing needs of the organization, changing needs of the society. So when you look into this, there has been a lot of changes. Just to list out some of the changes which you can see in the corporate communication. Usually you can have the number one is increase in green and carbon friendly initiatives. Secondly, we have been adopting to the multi-dimensional communication approaches have been happening. Thirdly, the way you treat the employees has completely changed. You are not treating the employees as you used to be in the earlier days. Then all the companies are going social. I'll be explaining you each and everything in a detailed manner. Then you also have something called as a reduced internal spam. Then there is also called as adoption of gamification. Then you also have meeting social cost. Then there is one of the most important trend what you usually see is the transparency, and also the adoption of collaborative digital workspace. So these are some of the changes which you can see in the changing trends of the corporate sector. So let's go one by one. The very first important thing is increase in go green and carbon friendly initiatives. As we all know, many of the corporate companies have started adopting to the various environmental protection activities. The enforcement of these environmental laws in the countries are so strict that it is very common, it is very even to all the corporate sectors to become more environmental friendly. Lot of companies are being given a deadline. There is a law which regulates the activities of these companies so that the environmental is not being disturbed. Wherever there is a disturbance in the environment, the company are supposed to take initiative. The companies are supposed to rectify all those mistakes. So what has happened here is we have something called as waste management. It can be in the form of forest restoration work activities. It can be in the form of a natural resource protection, or it can be the public transportation. And also there are a lot of alternative projects which have been taken place within the organization so that it not only protects the environment, but at the same time it can also be within the budget. Okay, you can cut down on the cost of the expenditure also. So beyond this, there are many companies. Just to give you a small examples, there are many few companies. Just to example would be ITC, which is a tobacco manufacturing thing, which is also into consumer goods and all. So they have taken an effort to keep the small farmers economically viable. So that has received a global recognition. Secondly, you also have companies like Kirloskar, okay, which is, as you all know, they are into manufacturing things. They are also have adopted a lot of marketing strategies which are very highly significant, okay, and which also expect them to have energy benefit. In this thing, I should say that they are more low cost when it comes to the consumption of the energy. It has cut down on the energy consumption. And we also have Tata Group of companies which are also doing a lot of activities. It can be something related to the combination of climate change. It can be the activities of reducing the waste, and also to have sustainably strategics which has been adopted by these companies so that the activities within the organization takes place. So there are many initiatives which have been taken, especially keeping this environmental thing in the mind. So it can also be in the form of creating a sustainable team who can raise both awareness. So what has happened here is all these companies are involving the employees of their organization. There are many projects which has been taken by the group of employees which speaks about the environmental protection, which speaks about the energy efficiency, it speaks about the green cleaning. So these kind of initiatives have become a part and parcel of many of the organization when it comes to the first important aspect. Then we also have something called as adoption of green power resources. The first thing is, many of the organizations have started using the solar energy. It can be for running a buggy in their organization, or it can be related to the solar installation for the lighting purposes in their offices, or it can also be a place where we are having the large scale wind farms, which will help you in generating the energy, which can be an alternative way of energy rather than consuming more of the electricity. So these are some of the activities which have been done under the eco green kind of activity. The second important trend what you can see in the corporate communication is about adoption of multi-dimensional communication approaches. So when I say a multi-dimensional network perspective, it is about the kind of strategic communication policies which you can create, which you can maintain, and also which you can dissolve. So there is a unified kind of a communication which are more effective. So you need to communicate with your stakeholders who are very multi-dimensional in nature. So people are there, people are investing for your company from different parts of the world. So there has to be a very comprehensive kind of a communication channel which is very pretty simple. It can't be very complex. So you need to get more and more localized sometimes. If you are a national player, you need to get more and more local languages has to be used. Or if you are at the global player, or if you are at the global level, so you need to understand the cultural needs of those things, and the communication strategies has to be done in that way which can help you in branding your organization. So you need to brand, you need to create a kind of an image of your organization, at the same time help in achieving the goal of your organization. So the communication itself has to be planned in a very strategic manner. It has to be done in a very understandable manner, or the companies or the stakeholders or your consumers should be able to comprehend what is being told. At the same time, it helps you in creating a kind of brand or an image about your organization, because these kind of multi-dimensional communication strategy has got a very big impact on the minds of the people. So for example, there are successful agencies who will be able to support. It's not have to do for yourself. There are many agencies which can help you in support their clients, where you will help you in integrated approaches of communication. Then you also have where you can plan things such as marketing, corporate affairs, or it can be related to the selling of the product in your company. So there are many important things. You can use a lot of visual aid, you can use a lot of text messages, you can use a lot of videos, musics, which wherein the communication becomes much more easier rather than telling them the whole story. The whole 10 pages of the content can be told in a 3 minutes video. So there has to be a kind of change in the trends. There has to be a new changes which has to be adopted by the organizations to give it much more an eye. Then the third important trend what you can usually see in the organization is treating the employees as consumers. As I already told in the previous classes, that gone are the days when the institution used to think or treat their employees as an employee. They are no more just a salaried people. They are no more the workforce. They have been considered as the family of an organization. Today, it is very important for an employee to keep himself informed. In turn, the corporate sectors or the corporate organizations have to look into the aspect where they should take the confidence, or they should keep the confidence of all their employees very intact. Then only employees will have a more kind of a support. There will be more kind of a inclination towards the organization. So you have to make them as a part of your organization, as a family, which help them to produce better, which can also help them in contributing much more for the development of the organization. The fourth important thing what we need to understand is about go social. So technological adoption is an integral part of corporate sector. So as you have observed, gone are the days when the advertisements or when the product used to be launched and it used to be shown on the television as advertisements or in the newspapers. Today, with the increasing importance of an online communication, there is a demand for this digital or the social media. Each and every corporate sector have a separate social media team, which main responsibility is to monitor, is to manage, and also to produce content about the organization on the social media. There are several companies. You don't find even a single company which is not there on the social media. They have their own separate Facebook page. It can be their Instagram, or they will be on their Twitter handle. Not only the organization, but also the leading CEOs of the company, the investors of the company, the owners of the company, they manage this social media in such a way, because this kind of influence what this social media has on its consumers, on its investors and the stakeholders is very huge. The base of this social media is such a strong thing that you can use this as a very strong medium. You can use it as a strong tool for communicating with your people at a very lesser cost. The only thing is you need to manage, you need to see the content, the post, the videos or the advertisements, whatever you people share about your organization is up to the mark, because the reachability is one of the important thing. People have been observing your activities. People have been seeing what the companies are going through. So this social media can be one of the best way of popularizing your product, your services, and also making your presence felt. You can't see any of the, or you can't name any of the biggest companies or even the smaller companies or maybe any kind of a local companies which don't have their presence in this social media. They are there, and this is the best way to make your presence felt. Lot of businesses takes place through this. There are a lot of negotiations which takes place this. There are a lot of user generated content through which you can get to know the customers, your consumers likes and dislikes. So this particular social media has been used as one of the strongest tool by this organization today, and it is one of the latest trend. You have your own I should say chat box which is there. Then you also have the digital assistant. Then you also have the sophisticated artificial intelligence which will help you in popularizing your product, and the companies can have a very good visibility. This is one of the latest trend what you people see in the social media, or what the kind of trend what you people see in the corporate communication. Then you also have something called as a reduce internal spam. To reduce internal communication spam, there has been, as I told you earlier, it used to be a lot where the corporate or maybe the organization used to send in the form of a letters. It used to be in the form of a files, which used to be running with lot of pages and all. Used to spend a lot of pages. But now with the coming days and all these content are getting digitalized. There has been a less use of the papers. Whatever the letter which used to reach you on the physical copy of your letter has taken in the form of emails. The messages, the meetings, everything has been converted into digitalized. People used to spend a huge money for the infrastructure. People used to spend a lot of money for these kind of stationaries and all. But now with the corporate sector getting more and more compact, the use of the videos, the use of the emails, the use of the intercoms, all these things have helped you in reducing a lot of internal spam. So cultivating a kind of an email ethic. So that means companies have been requesting their employees to use a lot of emails which is related to their work. Okay, wherein you can just email related to your work, and wherein you, instead of having a chain of mails and jokes and all, where you have to discourage all these kinds of a thing. Okay, so emailing within the organization can also be one of the etiquette what is being followed. Then we have also been asking these employees to use more of this internet and social media tools. For example, if an employee wants to speak a good thing about the organization, or he or she wants to say something about the good practices of the organization, the employees are free to use these social media, wherein you can build a very good rapport or an image about your organization. So by doing so, this will also help you when the information comes from the first person, or when the information usually comes from the person who is an employee of an organization. It adds to a strong message to the organization. So these kind of small things have been used very significantly in almost all the corporate sector. Then adoption of gamification. The next important trend what you people can see is the adoption of gamification. Many companies today have initiated something called as a corporate games for the employees, which is usually a mix of work as well as the game. It was usually introduced way back in the 1980s. The main purpose of this was to include a fun of element. games which can help you in building the team, because for a corporate sector, building a team, having a team spirit, having a team management, keeping your team very happy was the most important thing. So in order to make them much more involved in the activities, these kind of gamifications are being done, where the employees of the organization can be a part of the gaming thing. They can organize the sports events in their organization, which help you in generating a kind of motivation among your employees. So these has become one of the effective communication between the people of different hierarchies in the company. So this has been done very regularly in almost all the organization. Apart from this, even the hidden talent of the employees can be recognized. At the same time, you can also create a kind of training programs for these people, where you can make them as a representative, or who will represent your organization in the big events in the coming days. So these kind of process of gamifications will also boost the morale of the employees who are not there in the organization only as an employee or only for as a workforce, but at the same time you can help them in generating, you can help them in fulfilling their dreams, their hobbies and their passion in the sports or any other events of this, which will not only help the employee but also help the company to build a very better brand among the eyes, or in the eyes of the business thing. Then you also have something called as meeting social cost. This particular trend is also a very new one. It is a new initiative where corporates used to do a lot of corporate social responsibility, where the company used to invest a lot of things for the social activity and for the social benefit of the community members. So by doing so, corporates are no longer considered as only a profit generating entities, but at the same time this meeting social cost help, wherein the corporates are going beyond that. Okay, it's not only about a community, it is not only about a small investment. There are many companies which are trying to address the kind of a social challenges which are no longer limited to the responsibilities of the organization. Companies have been encouraging the employees to be a part of the social event. Companies also help the employees to be a part of the teaching. Just to give an example, where the Philips company in Bangalore encourages its employees to go to a local school every Saturdays and Fridays to teach science and mathematics for the local school. So this will give a kind of inclusiveness not only for the employee but even for the organization also. So these kind of meeting social cost, wherein you are spending your time, it's not only about the matter of money, it's also about a kind of social service what an employee can do for the benefit of the society. It has been a regular activity, and the involvement of the employees in these kind of social work will give him a sense of belongingness, a sense of unity, a sense of satisfaction of being a societal person. So these kind of activities, these kind of trends are also very much important, which people can see in the corporate world. Then you also have something called as the transparency. When I say transparency, it is about the business. As we all know, business is on the rise. The more the business, the more you have the investment, the more the money you have. So there has been a lot of diversity. There has been a lot of efforts which goes into generating the revenue of the company. Companies have realized today that it is very much necessary for them to keep the people informed. So what happens here is, if you want to encourage an employee to produce something better or to increase the productivity, you have to give him a chance to perform. You need to give him a chance to be involved. So what has happened here is, earlier used in the word concept of the transparency was not at all there, but today it has become one of the important trend, where the revenue of the organization, the activities of the organization has been very transparent. The employees of the organization can monitor, can see where the company is investing. Okay, the real-time activities can also be seen. So by doing so, even the salary, even the revenue are being not only being displayed in the public, but at the same time, it also gives the organization a very better image. You might have seen it in the newspapers, or you might have seen it in the business channels, where the Infosys usually releases all the revenue, all the deficit budget, all the profit, all the investments every quarter. Okay, by doing so, there is a kind of a transparency. The employees will be betterly, they will be informed. The investors will be betterly informed. At the same time, even the stakeholders of the company will also be very happy when there is a kind of transparency, because these kind of activities are very much important. Then there are also something called as the trend. We can continue with saying that adoption of collaborative digital space. Okay, this is also very much important. And as I told you, corporate companies have adopted something called as a collaborative workspace in the various departments of the organization. So conversation of the corporate people happens into 24/7. So you people are in the different time zone. One of your office will be in America, one of the office will be in India. So there you people keep working on different time zones. So with the intervention of this digital, the interaction of the people on the digital platform has become increased. So you need not have to go to Japan, you need not have to go to America, which has one more company outlet there, and work with the people. So you can have the interaction with the officials, you can interact with the team members who are there in the different parts of the world by using the digital medium. So these kind of collaborative activities, sitting at your home, sitting at your offices, you people can have a collaborative activities, exchange the ideas, which will not only benefit the company in terms of money, because if you want to travel to other country, obviously you need to spend a lot of money. But by using this digital platform and using this kind of a digital workspace, you can cut down on the budget. At the same time, you can also save money. So these kind of activities are also very much being there today in the corporate world. So these are some of the new changes, or these are some of the trends what you people have been observing in the corporate world. In the next class, we'll be studying more on the corporate communication. Keep watching.